Yo guys, what is going on? Got an UlforceVeedramon deck profile for you guys. I wanted to show you guys my list that I managed to get top 16 with in the recent Ultimate Cup. Not quite as good as I wanted to get, but all things considered, I think in a meta of Blue Flare, Mirage, Belphamon, it did pretty decent. Not sure if I would actually take this to a full regional because we were playing with the altered rule set. If you're not familiar with the Ulti Cups, is basically mono color, and then there's certain cards that are hit on the ban list, like Hydramon and Marcus to 1, Analog Man, stuff like that. That's not in the actual meta. But since it's been a while since I've done a deck profile, I kind of want to just show off what this deck can do. So let's go ahead and get into it. So of course for the eggs, it's just going to be 4 copies of Wanyamon. The DP egg, the DP Demi Vmon, I think is really solid. But in this deck, I honestly think you're just trying to cycle as much as possible. You're very piece reliant, so getting your draws is pretty important. And then for the rookies, of course, nothing super special here. 4 copies of the BT11 Vmon, 3 copies of the EX1, and just 2 copies of the starter deck, Warp Vmon. So this one's pretty obvious, best rookie in the deck. The Inherit is really good, as well as being able to search for Tamers is pretty important. And that's one of the reasons why I think this deck will kind of be really viable again with the introduction of the training cards, because you don't want to whiff on your Tamers. Memory boost feels a little bit bad sometimes. Davis is also another scenario where you whiff on your Tamers. This card doesn't, training doesn't, so that's definitely why you max out on that. This one's just really good inherited. It's effectively the same thing when you unsuspend, gain a memory. So you're just basically trying to gain that memory back from paying for your Ulforce. This one, the draw inherited, is really why you play it. There's a lot of times when your hand size is a little bit down, and because it's not a once per turn and you're swinging multiple times with Ulforce, you can resolve this draw like 2 or 3 times in a turn. The warp for me doesn't come up that much. In fact, in tournament it only came up once. But the problem with this card, like warping into Ulforce, is a lot of times if you're at 3 memory, which is most turns, like if you're at 3 memory, your opponent's not giving you more than 3. If you warp into this, you pass turn, and then even if you play Tamer, like let's say you play Arena out, you won't unsuspend, so you don't get any bounce off of Ulforce, you don't get any memory gain, so it's just like a not that great of a play into already established boards. So unironically, the Warp Vmon isn't really that good in this deck. But the draw inherit is just solid. And then the last rookie is kind of a flex spot. This can be whatever, I think, but I wanted to play 3 Blucomon. I really hate losing to consistency issues, so I think this build was just trying to max out on consistency as much as possible. So this effect saved me a lot of times. Security at the end of the battle, draw 2, and then add this card to your hand. So not only does it give you a rookie if you're missing one, but then it also just cycles 2 cards in your deck. And drawing is really good, obviously, because it doesn't let you whiff. You get to draw into your Tamers and every piece that you need for your Ulforce combos. So that's going to be the rookies. For the champions, again, nothing super special or revolutionary. We're just playing the Leomon build, so 4 copies of Veedramon, 4 copies of Leomon. I just want to max out on seeing this as much as possible. And then 2 copies of Lanamon. So this is definitely the hybrid to play. Her effect, basically, it comes up a decent amount by sticking a blue level 3 at the bottom of one of your blue Digimon's Digivolution sources. This card gains jamming for this turn. So hybrid with jamming is pretty decent. This came up a decent amount of times where I would have like memory boost plus like Davis on field. If they cleared my board, I could go like Lanamon, stick like a Vmon inherited or something underneath, like stick this underneath. And then you gain jamming, you're still at 3, and then you could go like Arrow Veedramon, you have jamming, you could swing or tap for the Tamers, and then go into Ulforce from there. So there's some combos you can do with this card that are like actually really, really good. But obviously just being a hybrid is pretty important as well. Leomon is insane, especially in Ulti Cup format where red hybrid is running around. So this card is insane against red hybrid, being able to just get another block out there, gaining 2 memory and drawing 1. And even if they have Atomic Inferno, they're really only gaining 1 memory if you're stopping like a multi-check security. This is also really good against Belphamon. If you're ever playing into Belphamon, because they don't play memory tamers, you can memory choke them. So what I did was like my opponent established a Belphamon. He put me to like 4 or 5 or what. The number he put me to was irrelevant. But what I was able to do is I just set up my second back, and then I just put out a Jerry or played a rookie, evolved Leomon, choked him to 1, and then at the end of the turn, Sleep Mode comes off. At the start of his main phase, Rage Mode activates, and as a mandatory, you delete all of your opponents level 5 or lower. So he has to delete the Leomon, and then Leomon on deletion gains 2 memory, and it passes turn. And then now, since he doesn't have the protection on the Rage Mode, I was able to just move out the UlforceVeedramon, evolve Ulforce, and bounce the Rage Mode. So Leomon, I think I would definitely just not play a build that wasn't playing Leomon. I think this card adds so much value to the deck. Being able to cycle is pretty important too. Against Blue Flare, it's a little bit less good because you don't want to have 2 things on field, but in that case, you just hold it in your hand. It's also a good security bomb. If your opponent hits Jerry, playing this from your hand on their turn is pretty nice. Saves you quite a bit of games. So Leomon, big fan of. So that's the champion lineup. Ultimate's pretty straightforward as well. Just 4 copies of UlforceVeedramon. This one is the most important one to see. But of course, this one is also really good, the starter deck. Jamming and then Sec Attack is really insane. A lot of times what you can do is with this one, it just helps you go for lethal earlier. So if I'm playing against like Red Hybrid or something, or a deck where I know they don't really have any crazy security bombs, I can just like swing with this. They go down to 4 security, evolve Ulforce, unsuspend, swing 2 checks, play Rena, unsuspend, swing 2 more checks, and then maybe a hybrid for game or another tamer for game or something. So this one's really good. But in a lot of matchups, this one's actually worse because you have to attack first. Versus this one, you can just suspend it. So in the last round, I lost in the mirror, actually. So my opponent was also playing Ulforce. And because I lost because I had this one and not this one, because he had Ice Walled me, choked me to 1, I had to attack with this in order to get the unsuspend to bounce his Ulforce. But if it was this one, you can just suspend it to be able to use this effect. And just against other decks that have like big blockers, Black Work Ray, whatever, you don't want to have to swing. You want to just be able to suspend to unsuspend into your Ulforce. But this one, obviously, being able to add all blue Tamers is also really insane. So they're both really good. Definitely want to play them. 6 is not like the largest number of level 5s, but I think it's like the bare minimum. I think it's enough. And then for the level 6s, just playing 4 copies of UlforceVeedramon. This is your boss monster. There's a couple of games I lost just because I didn't see this. You absolutely always want to see this every single game as soon as possible. So 4, I think this is non-debatable. If you don't know what he does, you just 1 Digivolving, play out a blue tamer, so lots of versatility. I've seen builds that are playing Sora Joe or Tommy or Matt Sora or whatever, so there's a lot of different tamers you can play. And then when you play blue tamer, unsuspend him, and then you get to bounce a card, starting from level 3, scaling up for each number of blue tamers. And then Ulforce X, 2 copies of him, definitely really solid, more of an extender than anything. You don't really want to see this before the Ulforce, and in fact there were times I did, of course, but in that scenario it's just like really bad because he basically just by himself is like an extra swing or something, and then unsuspend, bounce one of their lowest Digimon. But you really just want to like go for your full combo, evolve this for 1 on top of Ulforce, and then get an extra attack. And there were a lot of times where this is just like an extra hybrid or an extra like way to go for game. Like in the previous scenario, if you're swinging like 2 checks, you can Digivolve him, unsuspend, swing again. It's also really cool. You can bounce things during your opponent's turn because his second effect is in all turns. So if you have a Rena in play, you can like block with this, and then Rena, since a Digimon with Veedramon was suspended, suspend the Rena to trigger an on-evolve, to unsuspend this, to bounce something. So that's really cool as well. So no level 7s. I think the level 6s were strong enough. Then for the blue tamers, of course, 4 copies of Rena. Not much to say about her. She's just the absolute best one. 3 copies of Jerry, I think, is enough. By yourself, she's a dead card. You really only just want to see this with Leomon. First effect, just play Leomon. Second effect, draw a card whenever your opponent attacks. It just gets you some extra cycles. Is pretty nice. Same thing with V-Tamer Tai, 3 copies of him. Drawing is, of course, amazing. He's the 2 cost, so he's really cheap. And then there's a lot of times where you want to beat 13,000. There weren't many times where I had like all 3, so it's hard to play around like any burst modes or like 15,000 level 7s in your opponent's security. But just being 13 is like strong enough. Against Red Hybrid, you boost him 13 to not die to Emperor Greymon's insecurity. And you know, and against the mirror, you do the same thing to not die to Ulforces. Against Mirage, again, the only thing that'll kill you is like a burst mode. So being 13 is really important, and then just drawing cards. 2 copies of Davis. This card, Memory Setter, Searcher, obviously really good. I kind of want to play another copy of him just because Again, against the Ulforce Mirror, against Mirage mainly, if they're playing Madoki, which my opponent was, one of my losses was to Mirage also. He had Madoki, and I didn't see a Davis. So that's a potential card I might want to include, or you might want to include if you're going to play this deck in any sort of event, is just you don't want to be memory choked, because you just lose really hard to Madoki Betamon Floodgates, because you have to, like, the problem is because, like, you're fine not having 3 memory because you gain back so much, but if your opponent has Madoki, then you need the Davis. So anyway, so that's my 2 cents on that. And then for the last couple of cards here, 2 memory boost. I think 2's okay. I want to play more, but the problem is you just whiff on Tamers a lot. You're playing, what is this, 12 Tamers? So a lot of times you just bottom deck like your arenas and stuff. You do need to see your pieces. Like, you need to see your UlforceVeedramon and your Ulforce and stuff. But again, I'd probably just, like, I'd probably play 2 this and then swap this out for training boost when those come out. And then the last 2 cards is just a flex spot. I'm playing 2 Hammer Sparks. This can be like Great Maelstrom or Full Moon, Crescent Meteor, whatever, or any bounce card. I saw Ice Walls. You know, there's just a lot of versatility with these. I think, like, you could realistically probably cut like 1 Jerry or like 1 V-Tamer tie and then play like a 5th option. And then these option slots are pretty versatile, I think. I like Memory Boost. I like Hammer Sparks. Again, as an extender, just having 1 extra memory is really important, because this 1 extra memory can prevent you from passing turn with evolving Ulforce, or it can give you an extra memory to evolve into Ulforce X. Or there was a scenario where I had like 3 memory and double hybrid in hand, so having 1 of these lets you go 2 hybrids in 1 turn to go for lethal. And then, of course, just being a security effect, +2 is pretty important as well. But yeah, guys, that's going to do it for the deck profile. Let me know what you think of Ulforce down in the comment section below. I'm a big fan of this deck. I'm going to be playing it basically forever, like, at least until something gets hit. But the deck's not good enough, I don't think, to hit anything. But yeah, just a really fun deck. So if you want to play a deck that's not Mirage, honestly, like, if you're going to play an event, you should probably just play Mirage. Mirage is just better, but I just like Ulforce. He's just really cool. So anyways, guys, that's what I think. But anyways, thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.